just haven't made a video in a bit. Main reason why is I don't have a camera specifically for videos. Now, I do. I have a GoPro and I'm wearing a chest mount right now, so that'll kind of help me just to throw this thing on really quick if I'm gonna wrench on my own stuff, you know, for a little bit. So let's go ahead and show you guys this really quick. Of course, with any project, I always make things more complicated than what they need to be. I could have left this lower rad support in the car. Yes, that's correct, but I didn't. Main reason is I didn't like where it was gonna place the radiator. I was gonna place it really close to this merge right here. So I got this deal here off. So this is the stock lower rad support. There's only 8 spot welds that hold it. And then you can see right here on the sides, on each side, there's like a slab that goes up, and you can see it here. It goes up, and so I just cut it right here in line with the frame rail on both sides, drilled out the 8 spot welds, and this thing plopped right off. What's nice about that is it doesn't damage the bottom of the frame rail at all. So you got, you know, nice stock frame rails all the way forward. You have nice flanges up front for, you know, the stock rad or for the stock crash bar and stuff. And so I made these plates, and then I'm gonna take these tabs here, which we're gonna do in a minute, and we're going to get these underneath here. I think I've already got them marked underneath. Drill the holes, riv nut, and then weld these plates right here to this plate on the back side. So that'll allow us to have an entire removable like cooling system support, where we could literally disconnect the upper and lower radiator hose, unplug the radiator fans, intercooler piping, and, you know, 8 bolts, and that entire thing will come out. So the plan for right now is we are going to roll the car forward and get her kind of up in the air a little bit, and then get those 2 lower holes drilled, riv nutted, and then we can go on from there. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So let's do it. And this is the lower bar that I ended up getting all bent up for it, which is pretty darn trick. I've been waiting on some bushings actually to mount the lower radiator, you know, for the lower radiator mount, but this is kind of what I've, in my head, what I've got as an idea is something like that. So obviously these will just have plates underneath the bottom portion of the radiator where these will just sit in, and then which actually I might have to reverse that, but that's kind of the premise. This side first. I might actually just weld this. That side, good hard tack. Got our 2 brackets. Now, we'll weld them up. fully welded out. Obviously didn't weld the backside, just did a good little hard tack and then welded her like that. So now I'm gonna go ahead and DA sand the front of this again to clean that up, and then we'll bolt these back on the car. What we got here was getting the intercooler mounted up, and now we're working on at least the turbo side of the intercooler. Okay. Yeah. So instead of making this two separate pieces, I can actually take another 3-inch bend I have that's, you know, a 180 hoop, and just use one piece. So I won't have to have a weld here in the middle of the joint. The only reason that would be ideal is if I was wanting to rotate it up to get some ground clearance and turn it like that. Which, I mean, I might do that. On the inside of the frame rail, it's not going to do that. This is just a generic, like eBay, you know, dual port catch can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, cut these welds or cut these tabs off pretty much. Don't need them. And I'll mount this in where the factory ECU goes. Right here is where the ECU mounts, and you can kind of see like this ear. It's just like a tab that a slot would fit into, and then these two bolts here secure it. I had originally planned on mounting it right down in there on the side of the frame rail, but put myself in a situation where you have oil spraying out on the tire or on the manifold. At least on that side, I can kind of safeguard that to some extent, you know? So that's what we'll do there. So now the plan, goal, is to get the intercooler piping on this side finished up. And I will take this U-bend and I will go ahead and mark it right in the center, and we'll go ahead and cut it. Over the years, I have kind of made some marking templates. I don't have a 3.5-inch one. Not that it would be hard to make, but this is a 4-inch. And so that'll help to kind of just mark the tube out square-ish. We got her cut. Now we'll go back over to the car. We've got this 3.5-inch piece that is already bead rolled, and then this tube is gonna do this right here. It's gonna just dunk down. So I know. And then we're gonna tighten down the vise, put it up, and let her eat. Deburring tool here, and I will run in the grinding room and face that, but let's see if that's gonna work there. So once we kind of get this piece lined up, bam, so that'll work right there. I know I need to take these two out. I'm gonna get these clean both inside and outside, get this end bead rolled. This end's already bead rolled, and then we'll be good to weld this thing up. Get this bead rolled and then prep inside, outside, mark it, tack it, make sure it fits, and then weld it up. There we go. a nice bead roll. That'll prevent this from ever popping off of its coupler. Now this needs to kind of do that. Now we got our upper section hard tacked together, and that is how she will sit. About like that, right there. The lovely blow-off valve can go right about here. I mean, it could go over here or here-ish, which I guess I'll probably do it about there. So we got it all welded up, and I usually weld, not usually, I always do. I weld the blow-off valve flange on first, and then I use a hole saw blade and I cut that out. So, nice clean hole. Now just very lightly clean her up with a good old flap wheel. Clean transition. Ready to rock and roll. Got the lower one all fitted up to the core.
High cuts not too bad. Actually, you don't even need painting for that. So freaking hideous, they're right there. Don't make fun of someone else's work if you can't do it.
But I can. So
the pie cuts, mentally, you do pie cuts. You do pie cut right there.
pie cuts are only, for me, it has to be for something specific. Like you have to be trying to steer clear of a tire. Or if someone wants like a 3.5 inch downpipe or a 4 inch downpipe on one of these cars, so you kind of have to do pie cuts to get it to aim down. But after that, there's no need for it.
You're done.
It only should serve one purpose, and that's it. So yeah, that'll work right there.
So he does it.
All right. So the last clips you guys saw was working on this section of tubing that connects from the compressor housing, loops around and connects to the end tank. Got that dude all tacked up and everything. A couple other small things I want to try to get ironed out really quick. My brother's going to be heading over here in a minute, and got some, obviously there's welding that needs to be done on the car. So the welding that needs to be done is got to weld the end tanks, you know, to the actual core. Got to finish weld the tubes into the end tanks. Have to finish weld this section of charge piping. And then I've got to finish just the lower section on the driver side. So that connects from the throttle body to the intercooler. Got to finish that side. And then I got to finish weld, you know, the brackets on here. I got to modify the hood latch deal to clear the fans. So gotta do that. We gotta get the motor pulled because we gotta do a couple things to it. But there's steps that need to happen before we can really start making some serious progress. We're kind of at a point where we've got everything technically built. Now it's the finish side of it. So gotta start doing that. So here we go. So it's just the cheap, like... Cut the filter open, make sure everything's good. It's self-healing. Running on me. exactly what we did on my brother's car. We are getting the downpipe ready. So we got it cut to length, and he's heating up that tube end because this has to kind of slip in there. After a little bit of a dilemma, we got it pressed in there. Now we'll be able to, once it cools down, we'll be able to get that dude welded up, and then drive shaft's done. Radiator piping is done. Working on the gusset for the intercooler, and then finishing up the welding of the intercooler piping, and then we can start kind of tearing stuff apart so we can get to the final detail stuff.